That would make sense.
Huh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't care.
No, that's not what I've heard.
And that one says port right there. The end.
QED stands for Quod Erat Demonstrandum, which means in Latin, what was to be proved, right? By Richard Feynman. And yes, so in this they argue that these aren't bouncing, they're actually absorbed by the mirror and other particles that are stimulated by that action.
Maybe I'm just uneducated, but I don't usually go to Quora for my scientific information.
Yes, you're right. I don't know how I ended up there.
No, I mean they are absorbed though, but we just call it bouncing because that's like kind of what happens. But it's like why white things, like everything absorbs light, and that's how you see color. Like white things are just basically reflecting. Like they absorb all the colors and then just like put it all back out so it looks like it's reflecting it, but everything is absorbed. It's like, so for instance, white light is shining all of the light out, but the reason why this is green is because the bottle cap only reflects out the green because it absorbs everything else and then just lets out the green. So.
Et voila. That's right.
They don't have the cones in their eyes.
They're missing. And other animals see things that we don't.
Ultraviolet.
Like parakeets. If you've ever had parakeets or parrots or other birds, I imagine, they see ultraviolet in their plumage, which actually communicates their mood and things. And we don't see that unless you use a special device to watch it. But other birds see it, even though we don't.
Flowers is ultraviolet too.
You know, there's lots of stuff we don't actually see. We're designed to see things that have become important to us as, you know, we were hunter-gatherers or whatever it was, you know, that...
What's that one shrimp that can see like millions of colors or something? There's a shrimp that can see a whole lot of
Shrimp are weird, man. The one from Happy Feet that was dancing on
I love those kinds of movies. All right, well, let me get back to George, because there's some other things that happen, and I still haven't answered the question, why do we keep honoring him in the United States? And the reason is he decided he was going to set up a university on the island of Bermuda. And so that was his idea, the first university in the New World, or the colonies. And so and for some reason he thought it would be Bermuda. So he went to the king, and the king said, yes, this sounds like a great idea, go do it. So first, Berkeley went and got married, because of course if you're going to do anything like that, you need to be married, I guess. So he got married, and he sailed to Yale. Actually, he sailed to Providence, Rhode Island. There he was planning on setting up farms, because he thought the university in Bermuda would need food that it couldn't grow itself in Bermuda, so he was going to make farms in Rhode Island that then would supply the food. This is all true. That was his plan. This would feed the faculty and the students at the university in Bermuda. Well, while he was waiting for the king to send a 20,000 pounds, which was going to enable him to fund this new university, he did all that. Meanwhile, he also did sermons and lectures and things in the area. And after 2 years, came to conclude that the king lied to me because the money never came. Of course, isn't that the way of things? So he sailed back to Ireland and left the books that he brought to establish the university in Bermuda. And the books ended up being distributed half to the new school of Harvard, which just started, and the other half went to Yale. And by the way, one of those collections is burned in the fire, but the other one is still there. I don't know which university is the one with the still original collection. I've seen pictures of it though. It's about like a shelf, three shelf set. So that was why we still honor him, is because his goal was to set up the first university in the New World. Even though he never did it, that's why you have so many people honoring him that way. Okay, and while he was there, one of the people that he influenced, and it's an argument over this, is the individual that I don't know why it doesn't say it, but I've heard of him spoken of as the first philosopher homegrown in America. This is before the United States, right? This is before the Revolution, etc. And he was a theologian and essentially influenced by Berkeley philosophically. So his theology and philosophy are essentially the same as Berkeley, and he's also responsible for the first what's it called, where they have great big the Great Awakening. This is one of those Christian revivals. So he's famous for that. He's also famous for some really harsh sermons, fire and brimstone kinds of sermons. Put the scare of God into people, that kind of thing. But he was very influential, and by the way, he ended his life by being the president of the college that would become known as Princeton University. And he ended up dying because the one guy, I forget who he was, but he came up with the smallpox vaccine and wanted to distribute it to everyone, and so no one wanted to try it. No one wanted to try it, but he, being the president of the college, said, "I'll try it." And so they administered the smallpox vaccine, the new thing, to him, and he died.
Today, actually.
Today?
Yeah, today.
No kidding.
That's Happy Death Day. March 26th.
Happy Death Day. That's like nearly Headless Nick. Has his he has a.
You really have it planned out to tell us today.
Right.
Did I do that? No, I wouldn't have even noticed it. Where does it say that?
Died March 22nd, 1758. I'm 54.
Now that is cool. That
He
is way
died.
cool. Did you get that on the video? Yes. I should. I hope it's should be on. That'll go down in history. Thanks for noticing that.
Of course, they need time.
My goodness. And by the way, the quiz question for today
Oh, yes.
is, and this is to inspire you to research him a little bit more. What do you think of Jonathan Edwards? That's your quiz question for today. What do you think of Jonathan Edwards?
For taking the small
Pretty dumb.
What do we think?
Pretty dumb.
What is our-
Yet I've had every vaccination and booster and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I was just kind of saying that.
I did joke with the nurse when I got the second one. I said, "Do it in this arm because I got the other one on this arm." And I wanted
Oh, that's what I did.
There's an interesting personal note to all of this. When I was in college, the chair of our philosophy department, who was a terrific guy, And I'll never forget, when I joined the philosophy department, and I walked into the philosophy department, and he greeted me by saying, "Welcome to philosophy." It's just, I had been in the music department. Remember, I didn't have any talent. And in the music department, there were, so many. That was like one of the main functions of Westchester. Why I went there was to teach music for music teachers. That was it, right? And so there were hundreds and hundreds of all these people. No one noticed you, But I walked into the philosophy department, and it was, relatively new and just a really amazing department at the time. And it felt so welcoming and everything. So I remember him doing that. And he was a Presbyterian minister as well as a professor of philosophy. And his thesis, his PhD thesis, was on Jonathan Edwards. So that's interesting. And not only that, but he did the editing of one of the books, The Complete Works of Jonathan Edwards. And when he retired, he sent that copy of his Complete Works, just the one that he edited, to me. So I have his copy of the book that he edited of The Complete Works of Jonathan Edwards, which is all the letters, which are some of the most famous things of his corpus. So that's pretty cool for me. Do you have any questions on Jonathan Edwards? One of the most important sermons is this one, etc. What other early philosophers can you think of from the colonies? We naturally think of Benjamin Franklin as quite a philosopher, although in many respects he is not the typical kind of philosopher. He's more of a scientist, a practical scientist, inventing things like the stove, the Franklin stove, and things of that sort. And of course, everybody knows about him with the key on a kite, on an electricity, right? Thomas Jefferson, probably. You think of him as a philosopher? You think?
You guys have the stuff to walk.
Oh yeah. I'm not. Well, he did invent some things like pants.
What?
Yeah, right.
People before Thomas Jefferson, they would just make it.
They were tights.
No, they wore pants that kind of cuffed around the knee.
The pantaloons?
But,
And then they were
but
tight things. No, like the tights, no?
Yeah.
and he
Like
loved
Peter Pan's
he loved books so much that he was broke. And so the one time he finally decided to go and sell all of his books to get money so he could pay off his bills, but he couldn't help himself, and while he was in the town, he used that money to buy a whole nother bunch of books. So, yeah.
Relatable.
So, Thomas Jefferson. Kind of, yeah. So, but what other philosophers? John Adams? I don't know. We don't really think.
Political philosophy, Monroe. The Monroe Doctrine was, kind of revolutionary.
Yeah, well, of course, as president, you have to come up with doctrine. Even George Bush came up with a Bush doctrine. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at that. But, all right. Well, so.
So this week there's a term exam due and a test.
Oh, so we could go to here, and we could go to our syllabus, and
I thought it was just the term.
so the second exam, I have it listed. I know this is confusing because I have it listed as March 20th. To me, that's the beginning of the week, and what that means is this week you have the exam due, and so it's this Saturday evening. You should, if you're on time, you should have test 2. Yes?
I thought you Cause you've mentioned this before, and I thought you meant like the Saturday before the 20th. So I did it like super early.
That's
I
fine.
had time.
That's fine. Yes,
I
yes.
could've spent
Even
my time.
late is fine, as long as I get it before I have to turn in grades, because I am honest, and if you haven't given me something, I don't inflate your grade to make them.
So the term paper is not due. For some reason, I thought.
Term paper should be due the last week, but you can send it in early if you like. Yes.
Oh, the
So-
3,000, the 3,000 words.
I should, just to reiterate, so exams we have,
But it doesn't, yeah,
It has to be on a person.
yeah.
Just to double check, is it 3,000
Yeah,
or
it says
1,000?
yes, 3,000.
Oh,
It says so on the term project.
see, I was mentally preparing myself for 1,000, but 3, okay. Just for the
It's just, you just go like this and you get excited about the person you're doing, and
Yeah, but
before you
sometimes
know
you
it,
be having
you've
like,
got 3,500 words, and you still didn't even get up to go pee. You know, it's like,
okay, but
I
you know how
struggle with-
authors write, I think I said that word wrong, but authors, they be having like, what's the word again?